Hello everyone, it's Dr. A creating this lecture for my art history class, Renaissance to Contemporary. This is the third part of the lecture on the Northern Renaissance, and we'll begin here in France. And this portion of the lecture, we definitely see how the 100 Years' War had a lot of influence on art. Everything was in disarray in the Middle Ages between France and England as they fought over who had the best claim to the French throne, because the English did have a claim to the French throne. It was a war fought by burgeoning nationalism, and even today the French and the English have a rather, I don't want to say convoluted, but it's still there. You still feel it. I have a friend who's French, and my mother's Bahamian, so we're British. And she still always, we laugh that we're still fighting the 100 Years' War. It really changed everything, this 100 Years' War. There was innovations in military technology. They have, for the first time, professional standing armies. Chivalry, which reached its height during the conflict, declined. And then, as I already mentioned, there's a stronger national identity because of this war. It is a long time to fight. But ultimately, the House of Valois retained control over the kingdom of France, so that's the French king wins. And thereafter, France and England are separated forever. One of the artists who really had a big part in the court of Charles VII and Louis XI was Jean Fouquet. Fouquet here paints a diptych. It's called the Melun diptych in 1452. And it's really influenced by this nationalist rhetoric, if you will. He is believed to have traveled to Florence, where he studied, and we know that we can see that influence, especially in the left-hand panel. Many people think there was another panel, but no one's ever found it. It's right now still debated, but still. We don't know if there ever was. We can talk about it, but we don't know. It was a piece that was designed to go over the person who commissioned it, the Chevalier, over his wife's grave, his tomb, if you will. His name was Etienne Chevalier, and he had a close relationship with the king. He was his treasurer. And so we see him there kneeling in his, reverence of the Virgin. He's depicted with Saint Stephen, his patron saint. It is the right-hand panel, though, that makes us wonder what's going on here. This is the Virgin with her baby, and you call this type of virgin a nursing virgin. She would have just been finished. But some people think that the unnatural colors of that panel, and some people think about the person who posed for it, that it makes this less than holy. The red, white, and blue are the colors of the French flag, and so that's why she is shown in those colors, which is odd. She's also, some people think, the favorite mistress of Charles VII. She had 3 daughters for him, and her name was Agnes Sorel. She was considered a great beauty. She was determined to follow the king into battle, and she died I think it was right before the battle was fought. And today, art historians still talk about this piece, but there was actually someone who did an autopsy, like a post, obviously this is really a long time after she's dead, of her body, and they found that she had possibly had been mercury poison. Maybe she had a lot of enemies. She has the bulging shaved forehead that was fashionable at this time. And she's a pale, pale gray-white color. It's a very kind of different looking work. Many people considered it blasphemous of the painter Fouquet to have done a painting like this because for some there's a type of erotic is the better word feel to this piece, as her breast is out that way and so obviously on display. By the time we get to the Holy Roman Empire, which had a huge influence on the emergence of what we're going to see as this new world, if you will, we see that it it didn't participate in the 100 Years' War, left it in a pretty good position. And while we don't have lots and lots of artists coming out of the Holy Roman Empire, and if you don't know about this, this is the empire that would eventually have a huge part in helping to sponsor exploration in the New World. It's huge. It covers most of the middle part of Europe, and it was inclusive of the Austrian Habsburg dynasty as well as the Burgundian dynasty. So it took all of that stuff in. And what we do know is Conrad Witt, one of the great painters of the period, probably coming from Switzerland, made a big new discovery. I don't want to say it's a discovery, but a new idea. He's the first person to incorporate realistic landscapes into religious paintings. And here we see the draft of fishes. And it's from an altarpiece again. The church is still a big patron of the art in this period. A lot of people think with the Renaissance that, affected it. It did not. And so hopefully you'll see that as we move forward in time. That's it for today, everyone. Remember, leave your name in the comments so I know you watched this lecture. These 3 parts are all important. So make sure you leave your name and the date you watched it. Thanks so much. I hope you guys have a great day. I will see you in class. And for those of you who are just watching, I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Bye.